Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Tori, and this is the Bible study overview of the Bible. This is week 4, and we are going through the history books of the Old Testament. Now, I got to give you a heads up. The weather changed quickly. It went from below zero to like 40 degrees in like a day. And so my sinuses are not liking the the weather very much. So my voice is not as good as what it should be. I should not be talking, but I do have my tea. It doesn't taste very good, but I am told that it is good for me. So we're going to jump in to week 4 of an overview of the Bible, and we're covering the history books. Now, the books of history within the Old Testament are Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. And we're going to start with Job. It's pronounced Job, not Job. And this is an ancient story of a man who had everything. He had family, he had riches, he had animals, and he had everything. And then through tragedy, he lost everything. And this story asks the question, why do bad things happen to good people? And the story refuses to offer an answer for human suffering and divine justice. And there's some characters within this story. There is a character of Satan. God is a character. Job is a character. And then Job's friends are characters. And Job starts off with a conversation between Satan and God. And Satan basically saying, Job loves you and serves you because you give him everything. And God says, well, why don't you just test him? Let's see if he just loves me because everything is good. And so everything is taken away from Job. And this is disturbing. It's disturbing because of this conversation of God and Satan, where Satan says, well, can I inflict pain on your servant? And God says, yeah, sure, why not? And it is unsettling that God would do that. But the story goes on and has Job suffering to the point of, and that was the deal with God and Satan's deal. It's like you could take everything away from him. You could take his health. You could take everything, but you can't kill him. And so Job gets really sick. He loses his family. He loses his riches. He loses his animals. He loses everything. And he's sitting in the dirt, basically. And his friends come along and say, what did you do? What sin have you committed that God did this to you? And Job says, I haven't done anything. And his friends are insistent, you must have done something. There was an ancient belief that if you were sick, if bad things happened to you, then you must have sinned against God in some type of way, shape, or form. And nowadays we know that that is not true. That is a false belief. But back in ancient times, that was a belief that they had. And so this whole book is mostly Job's friends and Job having this conversation back and forth about what he did. And then finally, towards the end of the book, God speaks and basically puts everybody in their place and says, who are you to say all of these things? Were you here at the creation of the world? Were you here when I created the mountains? Were you here when I created the rivers and the oceans? No, you weren't. So you have no say because I am God. And it ends with Job getting everything back tenfold. He got his family back, he got his health back, he got his riches back. And so the story comes full circle. And so the story is basically a story about why do bad things happen to good people. And and I just find it really interesting, Satan being a character in here, God having this really weird conversation with Satan, and then Job and his friends are interacting with one another. And it's just this kind of a neat story, but a little theologically off, because there were so many bad theologies that came out of this. Some of the bad theologies are God's not that powerful because he allowed Satan to do this, or bad things happen because of sin. And so you can see how all these really kind of messed up theologies come out of this story. We're going to move on to Psalms before I lose my voice. Psalms is pronounced with a silent P, and Psalms is poetry. It's a poetic discourse between Israel and God. And oftentimes these psalms are raw emotion that the psalmist is feeling at the moment. It's more emotion than it is theological correctness. And there's all different types of psalms. There's thanksgiving and praise psalms. There's lamenting psalms. There's wisdom and trust and pilgrimage, and all different types of psalms. The pilgrimage psalms are the songs that they sang going from their villages to Jerusalem when they were going to Jerusalem for a feast, such as Passover or Festival of Booths. These are the songs they sang on the way to that festival as they journeyed together. So there's all different types of psalms with all different types of emotions. So I have some homework for you. In the Bible study that we did in person, we went through these, and it led to some really great discussion. Psalm 1, 18, 23, 55, 121, and 137. Would like you to read those and just be aware of the variety of voices and emotions and experiences that each author is having at that moment in time. Some are soothing, some are thought-provoking, some are heartbreaking, and some are violent. I was telling my class that there are times that I am looking for a psalm that I can read at church, or a psalm that I can preach on. And I start reading a psalm and it's beautiful. The first 10 verses, 15 verses are beautiful. And then all of a sudden, everything changes. And all of a sudden, you have a verse that says, and kill all my enemies and make them suffer. And I'm like, okay, that was a drastic change. That was a little over the top. And so you have these emotions that just come up. And the psalmists are incredibly emotional. They're great to read when you're going through a hard time or when you're angry. Hopefully you don't spite your enemies and wish harm or death on them. But many times when we read the Psalms, we can really tap into the emotion of what they're feeling. And so I really encourage you to read those Psalms and be aware of the voices that are coming through and the emotions that they are expressing. Then we move on to Proverbs. Proverbs is one of 3 books of wisdom. Job and Ecclesiastes are the other 2. And Proverbs gives, when you read Proverbs, there is a parental tone to it. It's as if you're reading, like a teacher is like a teacher is instructing a student, or a parent is instructing a child. So there's this tone about it. And then it's filled with practical advice, but its central concern is building character into somebody. Within Proverbs chapter 1 through 9 is general wisdom. Chapters 10 through 29 is like these one sentence wisdom pieces, kind of like I compare it to fortune cookies, where you have the little wrappers that you open a fortune cookie, you read your fortune. It's kind of like that. And then chapters 30 and 31 are short oracles. And let's see. Building practical advice, central to building. Yeah, I'm missing something in here. We discussed something in our in-person Bible study, and I think it was Proverbs 26, I believe. I'm going to look it up. Proverbs 26. I'm going to give you an example of the wisdom and the parental tone and the advice that is going through. I'm going through Psalms. I think it's in chapter 26. Yes. Chapter 26, verse 4 and 5. This is verse 4. It says, "Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him." And then the very next verse, it says, "Answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes." Two proverbs right next to each other telling you the opposite advice. Answer a fool, yes. Don't answer a fool, yes. So what does this mean? How are you even supposed to interpret this? And I think with Proverbs, it's not giving you direct answers, much like, going back to the parental tone. It's not giving you the direct answer, but it's telling you you need to use wisdom when you're dealing with fools. There are some times you're going to have to answer. There's some times where it's best to hold your tongue. And you have to discern between which time you do what. And so Proverbs is a lot like that. It's not instructing as far as do this, do this, do this, do this. It's more of I'm going to give you a set of wisdom things, wisdom practices, but you have to discern between what is wise and what is unwise to do, taking into consideration every account. So that is Proverbs. Ecclesiastes. Scholars still debate when this book was written. The word vanity is used often in certain translations. Other translations, the word is meaningless. Some view this author as very pessimistic, and other views them as an optimist. And why is that? Vanity in Hebrew means, or vanity or meaningless, means breath or vapor. And when you put breath or vapor in replacement of vanity or meaningless, it takes on a little bit of a different tone or a little bit of a different meaning. But basically, the author who wrote this is basically saying, you know what, live your life to the fullest because you only have one life. And you got to take it with everything that you've got. Most things are not really big enough to worry about, but taking in the big picture and living life to its fullest is important. And so that's Ecclesiastes. Song of Solomon. This is also known as the Song of Songs. The title of the book is Song of Songs. I forgot to put the S on there on the slide. Meaning it to be similar to the best of the best. Known as the Song of Solomon because Solomon's name appears like 6 times in there. And so in some Bibles, you'll see it the Song of Songs. In some Bibles, you'll see it the Song of Solomon. And that's kind of why. And this is simply a dialogue between two lovers. It's a love poem. It is a beloved and a loved, going back and forth and telling them how much they love each other. And some people believe it's a dialogue between human beings, and some interpret it as a dialogue between Israel and God. There's different ways of looking at that. And that is it. That is the poetry books of lesson 4. And I didn't lose my voice, but hopefully my voice didn't distract you too much. We have our in-person Bible study Thursday mornings at 10. You're welcome to come and join us. We have some really great discussion. When you watch them online, hopefully it's good, but you miss the discussion that other people bring to the table. And so I encourage you to be in person. But if you can't, please listen to these. And if you have any questions, text me or call or email me, and we can discuss more. Hope you're having a really good day, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.